Hi guys and girls, Dave from Player TV, back once again. Today I'm here with the GamerStorm Baronkase Liquid, brought to you by DeepCool. Let's roll the intro. Okay, so let's take a closer look at the DeepCool Baronkase Liquid. We'll start with the measurements. It comes in at 470mm tall, 423mm long, and 215mm wide. So that's side to side. It's made from full SPCC steel, so that's steel all over, apart from the window here, obviously. The front panel is 1.2mm thick. The rest of the side panels are all 0.7mm thick. The tempered glass window here, that's 4mm thick. Out of the box, the weight is a hefty 11 kilos, so just something you might want to note. Front I/O up here on the top consists of a power switch, reset switch, a headphone and a microphone jack, as well as two USB 3 ports, so that's a fairly standard affair. On the top here, there's 3 buttons. I'll get some B-roll so you guys can see that a bit closer. But what we have here is the mode of the LEDs, and then we have a power on-off switch, so that's just to turn them on or off, and a speed switch, so again that'll control the speed of the LEDs. A bit more on that later, but we'll get the build installed and I'll show you what that sort of consists of once it's done. Moving on, I just want to take off this front panel here. So it just has some nice, sort of quick release nubs that just go in, so it's nice and easy to pull off. But I just sort of wanted to show you here. This is the sort of the clear out for where the power supply is mounted, but a little bit more on that later. But just kind of wanted to show you the hole so that it had room to breathe and stuff like that. But that's where it goes in the top of the case here. There is a mesh dust filter here, and then obviously there is some room for the hard drives to breathe, so that's where they go in the bottom there as well. Again, it has a nice little handle that's been included on the case, so that's great. So we'll just move on and take a look inside the case. Alright, so let's take a look inside. So I'm doing a couple of these screws. So held in with nice little thumb screws as well, which is always good. And of course you can just undo them with your thumb, but try and speed it up here for you guys. I'm just going to remove the glass panel, put that on the floor. There we are. Now, here it is in all its glory. Now the first thing you probably notice is the actual pump itself. This comes with mounted to a plastic ITX sized sort of shipping mount, I guess, which just kind of makes sure it all comes in one piece and stays where it's meant to. Held in with a few screws there, so you just kind of undo those, undo the screws that's holding the plastic mount here in place, and you're good to go. Good to mount your motherboard after that. In the roof there is a 120mm fan and radiator, so that's the cooling support for the pump here. Down here you've probably noticed there is the flow meter. That's what I was looking for. The flow meter here, so it has a little sort of flow meter thing that spins inside, obviously, and it's lit up, so the LEDs match that, the pump, and of course the fan up here in the top as well. So again, once I've got a build installed, I'll show you that a bit later. Mounting support for the pump here. DeepCool have included Intel socket 20XX, which would be 2066 and 2011, 1366 and 1150X, which is probably LGA 1150 and LGA 1151. All of the AMD, AM and FM sockets are included. However, TR4 is not, because it probably just needs a bit extra cooling than just the single 120mm radiator. So that kind of makes sense. Motherboard support, it supports full-size ATX motherboards as well as MATX and ITX. Slots, there is only 5 included. So really, you know, the choice is up to you, but I would probably pick an M80X or ITX board for this. And the reason being is that, you know, if you want to use a few extra slots on a full-size ATX board, then you know, you can't. You need 7 instead of 5, just the way it is. It's good to know that support's included, and the reason for that is that they've included this blanking plate on where you would normally install your power supply, and that has a pass-through cable, you know, which goes up to the top here. So again, when I do the build, I'll show you that. If you choose to install an M80X or ITX board, then obviously you can just take the blanking plate out and install a power supply here as well. So, you know, there are a few options there. To complement the 120mm fan in the roof, there is another one here in the rear. It's just a bog standard fan with a 3-pin header, as well as this Molex connector, which I'm not particularly a fan of. So if I was going to use this case personally, I'd probably just snip that off. But you know, that's what I would do, you know, like I say, personally. There's also a 2.5-inch hard drive or SSD mount here. And then obviously you would cable that in. There's a little bit of room here behind the flow meter here to, you know, to hide the cables out of the way. So that'll look nice if you choose to use that as well. Moving around to the rear, I'm just going to quickly undo these screws here. As you can see, we have a huge cutout for CPU cooler, you know, backplate installations and stuff like that, so that's good to see. Lots of holes for cable routing, as well as some rubber grommets down this side here. There's a few holes here as well. And a huge one here, you know, should you choose to use a power supply in the bottom. Up next, here is where the power supply would go, you know, the mount for it, so it probably comes down to kind of around here somewhere. And then obviously, as you can see here in the bottom, this is where the 2 hard drives would go. So fairly standard affair. Yeah, let's get the build installed and we'll see how it looks. Alright, so we've got the build done, as you can see. It's all finished and ready to go. But I think to start, I want to show you the LEDs and the modes and stuff like that. So there's 3 different modes. The first one is static, which obviously is what it's like now. The second mode is breathing. So that's kind of just where it breathes, like on and off, and then obviously you can control the speed of that as well. And then there's finally kind of what I just call like a cycle, where it just cycles all the different colors, and then again you can control the speed of that. So I think I'll kind of just show you quickly. So we have red, green, blue, yellow, and white. So that's the 5 colors. Then we have obviously the breathing. And then obviously you can control the speed, so that's fast. Then you have slow. And then there's sort of like a middle as well, like a middle speed. So that's red, green, blue, yellow, white again. And then obviously now we just have the cycle mode, where it cycles through all the different colors. And then again, obviously you can control the speed of that. So this is obviously the fastest speed, but I'm just doing it as fast as possible to show you here in the video. Anyway, back to the build. We have the BioStar Z370 GT6 Racing installed. Inside there, the CPU is a Intel Core i3-8100. Graphics card is the GTX 980. And that's it. Then obviously we've just got the SSD up here in the top, and I just put it there so that you guys can see that's what it looks like once installed, just above the flow meter here. Hard drives, I haven't got any installed, but they'll just go the 2 in the back, which I'll show you in a minute. Yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention was that you can see here, I'm just going to spin it around, is that there's a mid plate here that I've taken out, and I've got that somewhere up here. Yeah, there we go. So you just undo that with a thumb screw, and then that just basically enables you to install a slightly longer graphics card into, you know, sort of into the side of this this full cover here. So yeah, that's a good addition. I like that. Just make sure that you install the power cables first, you know, slide the card in and then install it, you know, and you'll be good to go. I'm just going to spin the whole case round so you can see the rear. This is obviously where the two 3.5-inch drives would be installed. And they're just thumb screws, so you just undo the screw and then it just kind of slides out. Like that, and then you just kind of slide it back in, so nice and easy. Here's the extension cable for the power supply. So just, you know, I would sort of install this before you put it into the case. Make sure you definitely plug the actual cable into the power supply and then turn it on before you put the bracket that allows you to install it in the top of the case, because I kind of forgot to do that and then had to take it all apart all over again, so that was pretty annoying. But anyway, that just goes in there, gets installed in the top of the case. You have to remove this handle, but it's just 4 screws, comes off, and then 4 more screws in the top there to install the bracket. So that's, you know, well thought out and nicely executed as well. But it just a little bit more time consuming, but it kind of just comes with a case like this. But I just kind of wanted to let you know about it anyway. DeepCool have obviously included all these cable ties and stuff like that. So even without having to use like plastic cable ties, you can still do a fairly nice tidy build, as you can see here. I'd probably recommend getting a modular power supply, and that will just kind of enable you to like limit the amount of cables that you have just kind of stuffed in here, unless you know, you can just kind of bunch them all up with cable ties and kind of just hide them in there out of the way. But just another thing to mention. So that's it for the build. It was pretty nice, very easy to do. Yeah, there was nothing that's jumping out to me immediately that you know, made it quite a bit of a pain to install. And if there was, you know, DeepCool have already thought of it by, you know, enabling you to take out the cover here for the extra length of the graphics cards and things like that. The mounting hardware for the Intel socket here is very easy to use. You know, it's just 4 screws, and then you know, install the cooler onto that. So it's yeah, kind of a fairly standard affair. It's actually pretty decent. Yeah, we'll move on to the conclusion. Let's go. All right. So what did I like about the Baronkase liquid from DeepCool? I liked the full steel construction of the case. It's completely steel, no plastic in sight. It's got a uniform sort of paint color throughout. The paint job's very nice as well. It's kind of like a matte, like a nice shiny matte color. Yeah, it's very nice. The other thing is obviously the inclusion of the liquid cooler and the flow meter. For me personally, I think that's the first time I've ever seen like a flow meter included on an AIO. Obviously, they've included a fairly good AIO as well. It's the DeepCool like 120EX that they've just added the flow meter to, obviously for this case. But yeah, the RGB LEDs as well that they've added to the pump, the fan, and then obviously again the flow meter. Nice little addition. You know, you got the static, the breathing, and then obviously the cycle where it cycles all the colors. You know, just does it for you. Nice little addition to the case as well. Just kind of lets you add to the theme if you like. Like say for instance, wanted to make it yellow to match the motherboard I have here, then obviously I could set the yellow color, change a few things, like add some yellow cables and stuff like that. So, you know, it's a nice way to add, you know, like themes and colors and stuff like that to a case like this. What I didn't really like was, I mean, although you can add like an ATX motherboard to this, so I mean there's the compatibility there. I don't like that they've only included the 5 slots. You know, for me personally, like the whole point of being able to install an ATX motherboard into a case is so that, you know, if you want to populate every slot you can. I just don't really see the point, but you know, that's kind of just me personally. I do like, however, that you know, should you choose to do it, that they've included, you know, the option to mount the power supply up here in the top behind the cover here. So they have taken that into account. So I guess it's like it's a bad point, but they've kind of made up for it in other ways. So overall, the aesthetic is, in my opinion, very clean and tidy. As I said earlier, it's full metal construction. Uniformed, painted black color throughout. Nice tinted glass window as well, which isn't obviously installed right now, but it does kind of cover up a lot of the stuff, and then obviously definitely shows through the LEDs from behind the glass there. So yeah, that's a good addition, and obviously tempered glass I kind of think is the way forward for computer cases now, especially the way it's going and things like that. So to have that on £120 case, which is what this costs at the moment at the time of the review, is always good to see. Especially considering the fact that they've included, like I say again, the all-in-one water cooler. It is like 120 mil, but when you factor in that probably costs about £70 to £80 on its own, then you're kind of just paying the extra £30 to £40 just for the case anyway. So yeah, it's very good. The build was nice, easy and straightforward to do. Motherboard went in nice and easy, just put the cover in. There's no block from the radiator or fan there at all, so it just kind of plopped in nice and easy. Mounted the pump and reservoir there, sort of on top of that. So that went straight on. Kind of usual affair for AIOs, but just kind of better to install it once the motherboard's in. Good to have that nice little blanking plate here that you can remove to install the slightly longer graphics cards as well. As I said earlier, just remember to put the power cables in first and then kind of get it in. It'll be a lot easier for you. But it's nice that they thought of that and given you the option to take the cover out and just or leave it in, whatever, if you have a slightly shorter card. Cable lengths and things like that are all very good. There's lots of cable management options, as you can see, to manage your cables and kind of keep them out of the way as well, like very easily. So that's good. Obviously you've got like the 24 pin here, which you can kind of only just see if I spin it around. I'm just pointing at nothing there, aren't I? With the 24 pin here, it's all just kind of nice and neatly managed, and just goes straight out the sides of the case and stuff like that. So there's no sort of super amount of like annoying cables anywhere in the build that's kind of just there, like being really visible and stuff. So that's always nice in my opinion as well. The moving around to the back panel, installing the power supply up here was actually very easy. So got to give that to DeepCool as well. Just remember to put the plug in, flick the switch on, and then obviously mount it in the roof. Otherwise you're gonna have a bit of a hard time taking that off. Again, you have to remove the handle and stuff, but it's a fairly standard affair. It's just removing a few screws and things like that. It is a bit more work than you would have like in a traditional case, but I kind of think that DeepCool have gone for this sort of smallish form factor, and it will definitely appeal to a lot of people. So, taking all that into account, it's the awards time, and I think the GamerStorm Baronkase Liquid is going to get our gold award. Now, the reason for that is that I think overall it's a very well put together case. It uses the same sort of steel throughout the entire build. Comes with a glass, very nice glass, tinted glass panel. And it's just a well thought out and well executed case in my opinion. It's they've included the options. They've included the option for the size of the case to allow you to install motherboards, for example, that you couldn't really install in what is classed as an M80X case with just the 5 slots here. So it's the fact that they've allowed you to put things like the power supply up in the top of the case there. is just you know, a good move as far as I'm concerned from DeepCool. So yeah, very pleased to give it the gold award. So yeah, let me know down in the comments below what you think about the GamerStorm Baronkase Liquid from DeepCool. Yeah, thoughts and opinions and things like that down below, that would be great. I've been Dave, once again from Player TV. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, sorry, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe to us here on Player TV. And I'll see you again soon for the next video. Bye for now.